Thank you so much, Gay, for the introduction. My name is Steph. I'm the Senior Director of Business Development at the Trade Desk, and I'll have the wonderful panellists introduce themselves. Nice to meet you all, by the way.
Great to meet you too, Steph. I'm Julian. I'm from Google, and I lead our APAC commercialization for YouTube.
We have met Steph, but I'm Zach from Dentsu, and I'm across Programmatic Solutions.
Matthew Waldbauer, Senior Manager at SoundCloud, based in New York, but representing Australia.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So I had the privilege of spending quite a bit of time with these guys prior to this panel, and I know everyone's probably got a little bit of audio fatigue at the moment, but as Gay mentioned, the point of this session is to sort of use this as a wrap-up, and the content that we've seen is the basis of a discussion. I think we're all really excited to hear your point of view on some of the content that has been presented already today. And where's Nat? Hug for Nat. Thank you for that report. Excellent. So first question, there's been a lot of conversation around the growth of audio, which is very exciting. According to the State of Nation report, 75% of media agencies now have streaming digital audio advertising, and 70% have podcast advertising as a significant or regular part of that activity. So I'd like to hear from each of you around why. Why do you think we're seeing all this growth in the last year as well?
Go first.
Start with Julian.
Sure. Well, I think we've heard today a number of pieces of evidence here. The first one is the quality of the content, right? As mentioned at the beginning, there's been tremendous growth in just the quality and the volume of content available to users. The other thing is, I think, the user growth, just gravitating towards audio, particularly along the younger generation. Podcasts, obviously, as we've heard, have been growing tremendously, but also music streaming. A lot of our younger generation are native listeners now, in addition to viewers, obviously. And so they've always got, if we look around, always got earphones in or headphones on. And so, there's always an opportunity to reach these users. And I think advertisers and agencies understand that. And that's where the value is starting to shift.
And you spoke a little bit earlier about, when we caught up, the relationship that you have with the talent as well. And that ties in with what you're saying with the quality of content that you're seeing.
Yes, exactly. And the trustworthiness that comes with that relationship that users have with the good content.
Yeah, excellent. Zach?
Yeah, thanks. Probably mirroring a bit of that to start with. Obviously, the channels had a growth in consumption. A lot of that's based on sort of the nature of the channel itself, right? Wireless headphones, you can use it while multitasking, quite easy to consume. But then from an investment perspective, advertisers have sort of a clear state of mind of where it plays, primarily in that upper funnel, planning teams and agencies, planning audio alongside other channels and maybe seeing those competitive CPMs and more frequently tapping into it. And I think importantly as well, the networks now really understand the digital offering and are recommending it more, and they know where it plays to its strengths.
Yeah, not to sound like a broken record to what Zach and Julian have saying, but I think over the past 10 years, streaming particularly has had the benefit of having the disruption of the music industry really be a catalyst of the growth that we've seen. So you couldn't really ignore it when it was starting out 10 years ago. So I think brands really leaned into that and recognized like this wasn't going anywhere. Us as platforms like SoundCloud have had the benefit of having that and having brands come to the platform just because that we've had such natural growth in that respect. And then that kind of like lights a fire underneath all of us to really just adapt to it, to build new products and roll out new measurement tools for our brands and advertisers alike. So it's kind of like the perfect storm of, we have something that's really beneficial already in the industry, and we kind of get to reap the benefits of that with our brands.
Excellent. We're going to move questions around a little bit because I think it ties in nicely with the specific growth on programmatic, which is very exciting to see working at the Trade Desk. But so the report showed that 82% of agencies are intending to buy audio programmatically in the next year, and this is up 64% for the previous year. So it's clearly the fastest growing buying method. Why do you think this is? Obviously, in your role, Zach, you get some pretty good exposure into the Dentsu group across programmatic specifically. So I'm keen to hear how you've seen this growth and why.
Yeah, definitely. I think, look, just a byproduct of digital growing, more and more of that digital supply slowly becomes programmatically available, so that sort of correlates. And then also that supply is more sort of intertwined and integrated with buying platforms such as the Trade Desk. And look, then from there, when there is the programmatic opportunity, people tend to tap into that for the benefits, right? There's the addressability and omni-channel benefits, there's the investment benefits with flexible budgets, but probably the key one is accountability, the ability to place a pixel on the site, report an attribution, measure ROI, and justify the investment in the channel. It's probably the key reason that growth is increasing.
I think the report also identified price being a key driver as well in a post-pandemic world as well. Thank you, Zach. Julian, so what do you want planners to be considering when buying audio? First part of the question. And the second part, what can publishers be doing more to challenge the status quo?
Yeah, thanks. So first part there, I think there are three things I think advertisers need to be considering. The first is that context is king. And by this I mean relevancy really matters. And we've heard today, again, when users are listening, when folks are listening to audio content, they tend to be paying more attention, even if they are doing other things. But that's the first thing. The second thing is they can be, audio allows us to understand a user's state of mind much better than other formats. And so in this way, I think context, really understanding how users are thinking, how their audience is thinking, what state of mind they're in, can really benefit and improve the message or make the increase the engagement. The second thing is multi-format strategy, and we've heard again about this many times today. Audio works well as a standalone format, but even better as a supplemental or complementary format. And the ability to surround the user and engage across multiple surfaces, I think is very, very powerful. And so, being able to reach a user, and going back to the context piece, being able to reach a user who's interested in sneakers while they're doing the dishes is one thing. Being able to reach that same user who is running on a treadmill is a completely different and arguably a much better outcome. And so bring those two together in addition to a video campaign that can drive a story and a narrative is very powerful. The third thing I would say, I'm trying to remember, is, what was it?
Things you want planners to consider when
That's
buying
right.
audio.
Yes, so there was context, there's multi-format, and finally, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
That's right. What about what you think publishers need to consider to challenge the status quo? So we speak a lot about what the buyers need to do. What about as publishers, what do we need to do to be accountable?
Yeah, so two things here. I think we've heard that measurement and data is incredibly important. And I think one of the obstacles to a lot of advertisers buying audio is the ability to standardize measurement and data and ROI across all their buys. So the first thing I think would be to standardize their, to make it easier to understand the ROI and effectiveness of audio ads. The second piece is around packaging, and again, the relevancy piece. Publishers, I think, understand their content better than anyone, and by extension, their audience. And the ability to segment and package content based on relevancy, on category, will really help advertisers reach their intended audiences. On YouTube, we do it via content lineups, mood lineups, that kind of stuff. I'm sure there are the genre targeting stuff, but the ability to communicate that together with ease of buying across the board would really help.
Very true, and I haven't had this question in here, but Zach and Matt, I wonder if you guys have any opinions on, I had this conversation last week with someone on the Melbourne panel, and they spoke a lot about publishers needing to be better at understanding business challenges of brands and doing a better job of going, further up the funnel to be able to really understand the requirements as opposed to talking about what a publisher has available and use that to solve challenges. Do you guys have any opinions on that? Throwing a random question, Matt, I can see you nodding.
Yeah, no, previously I was at Spotify before this for a long time, and I think one of the hardest challenges, and I'm sure the Spotifyers in this room know, on a closed application on streaming, everything had to be custom built in terms of measurement, which created a lot of challenges for us. And I see it at SoundCloud as well. But to your point, listening to the advertisers and the brands of what is important in terms of measurement, because ultimately that unlocks the brand's dollars. So we had to build a lot of custom measurement pieces, whether it be from Nielsen or Kantar or something from a reach resonance and response perspective. So yeah, it was incredibly important to listen to brands and create that case internally with our engineers and our product teams to say like, hey, this is really important. This is just going to drive additional revenue for our business, and obviously our company wants to make money. So we have to listen to our advertisers on the platform and build out these solutions for them so they can go back to their brands and say, hey, look at what our partner's doing for us and look at the result of this on the platform. So I think that's just across the entire industry that we can all benefit from listening to our advertisers.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think a lot of those measurement solutions sort of exist. I think probably the key problems for networks and publishers to consider is making that more readily available. Like these brand lift studies have like a very high minimum spend, or just.
I'm not making eye contact, right?
So look, a lot of advertisers sometimes price down, and that's what they need to enter the space is that measurement and justification for the investment.
Yeah, and I think audio. One of the benefits of the channel is that it can be turned around a little bit quicker, right? Because creative can be turned around much quicker than some of the other channels. So I wonder if that's something for planner and buyers to consider as well. Matt, I've got a question for you. So there's been a lot of conversation, not just across audio, just the general industry, and I think it was flagged in the report this morning as well around economic slowdown, and that advertisers are having to really consider how and where they're spending in the last 6 to 12 months. What do you think as an industry and then even as SoundCloud that we need to do as publishers to remain competitive, or why should planner buyers not cut audio off their plans?
I think I do this a lot on the road shows when I have the benefit of coming to Australia and talking to agencies directly about this, and really just starting off about the power of listeners and audio in general and how personal and intimate that is. I think as we've been talking about all morning, what a benefit it is how we are in consumers' ears throughout their day, 2 hours on average per day, every single day. Not all platforms can say that, whether they be video streamers or social platforms even. We, as an audio platform, have the benefit of being with our consumers and our listeners throughout multiple touch points in their day, and it's incredibly personal. Music and then spoken audio as well in podcasts is an incredibly personal experience. And there are multiple ways to reach that user. So if they are say tightening their purse strings a little bit and spend, if they wanted to do standard audio, you don't want to turn them away, too hard and want them to spend even more. But there are options to reach that consumer in various ways and to be flexible on these platforms. So I think just reminding everybody, specifically our advertisers, that how powerful audio is in a medium in itself.
And Zach, this is another random question, but I was just thinking about it. You obviously have the luxury of working across multiple channels. Have you seen any differences in the growth or decline in audio, and what you've seen firsthand, does that match the data that we've seen today?
It's so case by case. I think with advertisers who get it and sort of can brief their creative agencies and have that sort of creative ready, like they'll more sort of be more inclined to sort of invest that way. They understand the medium and therefore can sort of, lean into the competitive CPMs and whatnot. But then on the other hand, some advertisers sort of don't have their house in order, so it's hard to capitalize.
Absolutely. Julian, do you have anything on that question just before I move on?
Not really, just echoing the efficient CPMs, right, and the incremental reach. I think in challenging times, it's obviously economic conditions. It's incumbent on the advertiser to find ways to increase efficiency, and audio is a fantastic example of that, and they're cheaper to produce.
Excellent. So we also wanted to use this panel as an opportunity to do some myth busting or confirm whether things in the report are accurate or a true representation of what you guys are seeing. So some of the top barriers to further investment into audio were lack of measurement and tracking metrics, lack of evidence of effectiveness, and lack of addressability. What are some of the initiatives that the industry could take to address some of these challenges and ultimately make it easier for buyers to activate on audio advertising? We'll start with you, Julian.
Thanks. I think Zach said it. I think measurement and data already exist across the industry. I think it's really a question of standardizing and baselining and exposing the effectiveness of audio ads across the board. Whether this be by case studies, whether this by standardization, as the IAB does already, and really getting the message out there. We should all be playing our part in really just trying to drive home the effectiveness and everything we've heard here today. Just disseminate across the entire industry.
Zach?
Yeah, look, the measurement piece again, I just think best practices, benchmarks, I've touched on sort of making brand lift studies more available, so all of that stuff would be great. I think from like an addressability targeting standpoint, I don't really see too much of the concern, right? When we look at audio, they are slightly behind sort of their digital channel counterparts at the moment, but when we think about the fast forward 12 months when cookies are gone, audio is largely contextual, or first-party data with logged-in users, so they'll probably become the gold standard and they're doing the right things.
I think the fact that audio is not reliant on cookies largely, in the programmatic sense anyway, that when deprecation of the third-party cookie happens, audio is in a really good position. And Matt?
That was exactly going to be my answer.
Sorry.
No, the first-party data is incredibly valuable and beneficial, and I think we're going to see that exactly when third-party cookies are gone. But I think to everybody's point, standardizing these measurement solutions to work with first-party cookies, first-party registration data is going to be crucial in that sense because it does take a little bit longer. But in the long term, that's really valuable data that audio platforms do already and always have had to offer to advertisers. So I think just leaning into that even further and getting ahead of it before the inevitable happens.
I mean, we hear a lot about buyers and planners being concerned around scale. Do you guys have any rebuttal to that, whether there's questions around how scalable are some of the audiences or first-party logged-in data as well?
Low duplication. Not many users are streaming on multiple platforms. So if you want extended reach, all of our platforms have additional reach, and they're not bouncing between one platform to another. If they do, they're usually subscribing to one and they're free on another, or they're using these different platforms for different reasons. Specifically speaking, SoundCloud users are coming to the platform to discover something that they can't get elsewhere. Our catalog is massive of the creator community of uploading demos and mixes and what have you, and people are coming to our platform just to get something that they can't get elsewhere, which is not something to say about another platform. It's just saying they can use it for various reasons, and I think having advertisers understand that putting one platform on their plan of just I did a music streaming partner, I'm done. You're missing out on an additional audience and an additional person to reach.
That's interesting. It's quite opposite from what we see in BVOD as well, where streaming bundling is becoming quite big. And I don't know how many subscriptions everyone else would have here across BVOD. I think I must have 6 or 7 now. So it's interesting that you say in the audio landscape it's a bit different. Julian, did you have something you were going to share on that moment?
Just on the scalability angle, I mean, coming from the perspective of YouTube, I think in Australia we've got about 18 million active users monthly. Obviously not all audio. But what we do know is that a huge chunk of these individuals, if not all, engage with music content at least once monthly. Obviously, for someone like myself, much more than that. And so if we wind this forward and think music streaming is not simply audio, but also video and also background and also engagement with the screen or screenless via home devices and whatnot. We think the scalability issue is really not an issue. We think there is tremendous scale. for audio inventory, and again as a supplement to existing video campaigns. I think we'll get improved effectiveness as well. So.
Excellent. So no barriers of scale. We should see an uplift in audio spend for the next quarter. Excellent. So final question here. What do you see as the future trends? What are you excited about? What do you hope that we're discussing in 1 year's time from now? We'll start with you, Zach.
I'm sure it's been said on an audio panel before, but I think smart speakers are quite interesting. Sort of as that slowly continues to sort of pick up usage. Obviously, it will increase consumption of audio, but I find there might be some unique benefits there, right? From like an awareness perspective, there might be a lot of co-listening, and it might be an incremental reach channel. From a performance perspective, speak to buy. I think Amazon and Alexa are doing a lot of this. We might see further integrations with other companies, so it might become a strong performance and e-commerce channel as well. So that's probably the most interesting thing I can think of.
Agree. Matt?
I've been thinking a lot about, since I started at SoundCloud the past couple of years, getting the creator community involved a bit more and having brands involved in their campaigns in that sense. So having creators and content users, just having partnerships with brands directly, having them get paid really shows a value to the brand and the creator alike. It becomes a true partnership. So seeing how we could build on that from an audio perspective, from an event perspective, and original video content, as we're talking about earlier, when you're reaching users in a multi-format perspective, we see a lot of value, and that bleeds into the measurement and the brand's ROIs as well. So hopefully, while I'm at SoundCloud and here in Australia, we can discuss a lot more creator content opportunities.
And Julian?
I'll just echo what Zach said around screenless devices, smart home speakers and the like. I think there's tremendous opportunity there, and I'm eager to see scale. Obviously, one of the barriers I think we've noticed with smart home devices is an increased perception of invasion of privacy. Right? I think when you're asking the weather, you don't expect to hear an ad at the same time, but when you're listening to music and through a playlist, I think that's a viable means. The other thing that I'm actually super excited about, we heard from today as well on the HD browse stuff, and I probably won't Google it myself, but on the digital dynamic creative work, I'd love to see more examples of that across the industry. I think it's incredibly powerful, and I'd love to see that grow.
And we won't make this a debate about privacy, but I think when we talk about that value exchange of content as well, people are happy to receive an ad when they receive good content, and the whole quid pro quo of the internet. I think it's a very interesting topic, which we won't be discussing today.
Not today.
I think we're a little bit ahead of schedule. I feel like I have to end this quoting Jono. Where is Jono? That I don't have a good way to end this. But pay me out later. Gay, did you want to do some questions for the audience, or do you want to use the time to wrap up?
Any burning questions? It hasn't been a very question-lucky crowd, so I might wrap up.
No offence. Thank you, everybody.